Well, hello there. Welcome back. It's good to see you again. This is lesson 3 on the blood of Jesus. The first lesson we just talked generally about what the blood of Jesus does for you when it comes to eradicating sin in your life. The second thing that we talked about just this past week was that blood that Jesus had flowing in his veins was perfect. It wasn't perfect because Jesus was perfect. No, it came perfectly from God the Father, as a baby is scientifically, biologically, medically, however you want to say, forming in the womb. Because the blood from mother and the blood from the baby never mixes. So if you didn't see last week's Bible study on it, go back and look at it, because I think you'll find it very interesting. So today I want to ask the question, I want to stretch you just a little bit. I want to stretch you just a little bit, okay? And get you to thinking, what would happen if we knew the blood type of Jesus? Now we know Adam was a universal blood donor because as a human being, we inherited Adam's tainted blood. But when we get saved, we inherit Jesus's perfect blood. But what happened when that blood was spilled on the cross? And we're going to talk about that for just a minute. Now, we have an idea of what Jesus' blood type was, believe it or not. And here I'm going to stretch you. There are 2 amazing artifacts from the time of Christ that independently corroborate what his blood type is. Believe it or not. I'm going to stretch your imagination here, so stay with me and think about this. Some of you will not accept this, but I want you to think, it's at this particular moment of science in this world that we can extrapolate information from ancient relics. The first relic I want you to know about that has the blood of Jesus on it is the Shroud of Turin. Yes, the Shroud of Turin. And some of you don't believe that it's real. Well, I'll tell you, if you go back and you really research it, you'll find out it's never been debunked. Let me say that again. The Shroud of Turin has never been debunked. And right here I'm going to display a picture of what the Shroud of Turin is. And I want you to notice that there's an image on that shroud. And there is light and dark spots on there, and that light and dark spots in various places, and generally speaking, are signs of blood on that image. Now, of the last 40 years or so of studying this, they've come up with and they've determined the blood type on that shroud. And let me read to you what they've said. And there's several scientists have come up with the same ones. Dr. Byron Ballone analyzed samples from the cloth with adhesive tape. He reported that the blood on the shroud was type AB. It is significant that type AB is rare in Europe. To realize the shroud was in Italy. It's rare in Europe, but it's not in Israel. About 3.2% of the world's population has this rare blood type, but around 18% of the Jews from the north have it. Apart from the X sex chromosome, all of Jesus' genetic information would have come from his mother, Mary. The gene for the blood type is not the Y chromosome. Remember, Jesus is a human being and God. On that basis, it would have come from his mother Mary, and not from Joseph sitting comfortably with the doctrine of the virgin birth. In other words, all the X and Y chromosomes were not there like it would be in a normal human being. Okay? So the theory was later fortified in 1994 when another researcher tested the blood samples from the shroud. This is Dr. Victor Tryon and his wife Nancy established that the sample was human blood of the AB group, just as these other doctors in Italy had done before. That's from the official Shroud of Turin website. Now, there is another artifact, and you've probably never heard of this one, but I want you to go and at least Google this one. It's called the Sudarium of Oviedo. The Sudarium of Oviedo. And go ahead and we'll put up a slide of this. And I want you to look at this, and this is color. Notice you can't tell a picture or an image of a face on it, okay? There's no image. And secondly, I want to show you another slide here, and this is probably how it was used on the face of Jesus. In other words, a sudarium is basically a face cloth. It is called also a wiping cloth. This is entirely archaeologically and culturally accurate. Remember, John saw a folded cloth in the tomb after the resurrection. Sudarium in Greek means a sweat or wiping cloth. This cloth is roughly 20 by 33 inches and resides in a cathedral in Oviedo, Spain. This is in the north of Spain. And guess what? If you take the relic that has been carbon dated to the 1st century and light it up with a Shroud of Turin, the images match. I'm going to show you that slide right up here. Very interesting, okay? Very interesting. So, you know, Brother Lou, the shroud and the sudarium is a bunch of junk. It's not real. They're fakes made by the artisans at that time. And there are a bunch of other scientists who say it's not real. Okay, let me pretend it's true. Isn't it startling that 2 cloths in 2 different cities that are made from the same linen, okay, and have the same blood type stains on them, okay? That blood type is exactly what the world needed. So let me explain this just a little bit more to you. So you have the shroud that was the length of Jesus' body from head to foot. But then, before Jesus was wrapped in that shroud, what they would do is they would take that cloth, and again, I'll show you, please show that cloth again wrapped around a person, around the head, and as they took them down from the cross, they would lay them there. Why would they do that? Well, number one, what they would do there is because the people's face were contorted. You know, if you think of executions, you know, pictures that you may have seen, they put a hood over somebody's face. Why? Because when they die, it's not very pretty. And so when Jesus died on the cross, culturally, what happened many times was they would take a cloth and wrap it around their head, okay? And it looked like it was probably about this angle, okay, according to the blood stains. They would take that person down and they would put them on a stretcher of some kind, you know, and take them to another location and then put that shroud on top of them. And then sometimes they would take that sudarium off, and sometimes they would leave it on. But that's a little bit of archaeology. Please research. That's archaeology and culture. So they have now they have found a cloth, and that's many, many years old, the same carbon dating as the Shroud of Turin in Jerusalem, okay, to the 1st century. And so they've got all this blood on it, okay? And there's a reason for that. I said before, Jesus was a universal blood donor. Now, I want you to go to the Red Cross. I had to go to the Red Cross website and look this up, okay? Let's just say all this is real. Okay, let's just say all this is real for all you doubters out there. And the blood type AB is Jesus' blood type. And if we literally believe that Jesus, who died on the cross, who bodily resurrected, shed his blood for my sin, and not just my sin, but people all over the world, people in China, people in Russia, people in Africa, people in South America, every person in this world. Think about this. Now, go to the Red Cross website and read about donating blood, because you'll find out you just can't get anybody's blood, and you can't just donate any blood. You can receive and give your own blood specific type, but what if there is not any available? Now think about this now. There is no blood available that's going to take away my sin except for a specific universal blood type. According to the Red Cross, there are two blood types of universal donors. First is the famous O donor. That blood, generally speaking, can be given to a victim if there is no time to cross-match blood. The correct blood type should be given to the victim as soon as possible. Here's the good part. Secondly, there are those who are the AB blood types that are universal plasma donors. Plasma is the fluid part of the blood. It is about 90% water. The main role of plasma is to take nutrients, hormones, and proteins to parts of the body that need it. And don't we need to be nourished by the blood of Jesus? Cells also put their waste products into the plasma. The plasma then helps remove the waste from the body. The blood plasma also carries all the parts of the blood through your circulatory system. The AB blood type means that there are no AB antigens in this liquid. All the AB antigens reside in the red blood cells. In other words, that Rh factor we talked about before that's in the red blood cells, all the antigens are in the red blood cells of a person. But there aren't anything that will impede this or harm this that's in blood plasma. So group AB can be specifically given whole blood to only group AB, but receive blood from every other blood type. Group AB can give life-giving plasma to every single blood type. Let me say that again. Go to the Red Cross website. Read about AB blood types. Read about AB plasma as a universal donor, and you'll see group AB can give life-giving plasma to every blood group. Jesus can give his blood to every single person, literally, in this world, and we need it. So, what does the blood plasma from the universal donor Jesus do? Let me ask you this. Let me show you this. It carries nutrients, hormones, and proteins to every part of the human body, and it carries away waste, my sin. What is the purpose of the blood of Jesus, and how is this accomplished? Again, Hebrews 9:13 and 14. For if the blood of goats and bulls, that common blood, and the sprinkling of defiled persons with the ashes of a heifer sanctify for the purification of the flesh, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish, his whole being without blemish, his blood especially, purify our conscience from dead works to serve the living God. And Hebrews 2, therefore, since the children share in flesh and blood, that's us, he himself likewise also partook in the same, that through death he might render powerless him who had the power of death, that is, the devil. So he partook in our life as a human being, but his blood was totally perfect. So today I just get so excited when I see how perfectly thought out this is, how God has left nothing to chance. Now, I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in church relics and whatever, but I want you to understand one thing, and then I'm going to give you another wow factor in this next lesson. Blood has only been studied the last 400 years. And all the scientific ways of being able to study relics, archaeology, whether or not it's a coffin from Egypt or pieces of cloth. Think of forensics when it comes to police work and looking at DNA and all this. All this has been invented in the last 50, especially 100 years, but the last 50, 25, and it keeps getting more and more and more accurate. And they've never been able to disprove that Shroud of Turin. They've never been able to disprove the Sudarium of Oviedo. Why? Because they're real. That's my opinion. But if they're not, think of the coincidence it is that these two pieces of cloth made the same way, carry the same blood type from the same location in Israel. So this next study we're going to do, this last lesson, is going to be the reason why Jesus had to be crucified as an outcast, why he had to be crucified as a rabble-rouser, as a danger to Israel. Because if these cloths are real, then the reason why Jesus had to be done that way makes a lot of sense. We'll see you next time. Again, if you've got some comments, please make comments. If you've got some other scientific evidence about this, please let me know. Be glad to talk with you and answer your questions. God bless you. See you next time. Bye-bye.